Okay, business ownership, growth and location. So this is PowerPoint 2 on the blog page. Next slide, Toby. So you know from the previous slide that we can classify businesses by sector, and last time we looked at primary, secondary and tertiary, so I'm not going to bore you with that. You can also classify businesses by whether they make a profit, or if that's their main focus, or whether they actually run at a cost. So one of the classifications in that sector is public sector, and public sector is all things to do with how the country runs certain things: education, health, defence, armed services. Now the public sector are given a budget of money, so they run at a cost basis in the UK, and the government give each department a chunk of cash so that they can actually operate over the year. So those sectors, again, include ambulance as well as fire, defence, social services, schools. They're not targeted or objectives to make profit. They are actually, likewise, they're not there to make a loss. They have to spend their money wisely and make sure it lasts. So public sector businesses are controlled by the government, local and national government, and financed by local and national government, and normally provide services that are free at the point of use by people that take them up, students in school or people that turn up at doctors or hospitals. Cheers, Toby. Alternatively, a business will fall into the private sector if it doesn't fall in the public sector. Now, the private sector is all about making a profit. The private sector is very much classified by the organisations that they operate and the type of ownership that they operate. So we're going to move on to looking at ownership. Now, they can either be incorporated businesses, which are LTDs, and we know from Unit 1 revision that an LTD needs at least 2 directors, or 1 director and a company secretary, and those 2 people are responsible for looking after that business. If it's incorporated, the business itself is a separate legal entity, and that business will be created in Companies House, and that legal entity is maybe £100 in shares, which is 100 £1 shares. So that's what that company is worth in terms of share value. If they have limited liability, these 2 people work for the company, and that company is a separate entity. Cheers, Toby. Unincorporated businesses are completely different to that. You will know unincorporated businesses as businesses that are not LTDs, and there are 2 basic types of an incorporated business. There is the famous sole trader, as you can see. He's now in the business. There's no difference between the sole trader and the business. Or there is the other unincorporated partnership. And again, they're both in the business because they're both equally liable for any debts that that business actually have, as he or she is equally liable for any debts that business has. As they're personally liable in both the sole trader or the partnership, there's no protection in case they go wrong. So in this case, if one person, if Clive borrows £1,000 to buy a car and disappears in it, then Felicity is responsible for that £1,000 debt. Whereas here, Toby here, he set up his own business and he's responsible for every single bit of money that he spends. So it's easy to spend money, but clearly Toby's not going to spend money that he can't afford to pay back. So the only other thing I want to say is, if this person dies for some reason, that business obviously comes to an end. Whereas if this person dies, the partnership could actually carry on going if he can find another partner, otherwise he'll have to turn himself into a sole trader. So that's important to know. The only other point is the business owners are liable not just for the debts, but the tax on their profit. So you have to remember that. Whereas a limited company, the business is liable for the tax on their profits. Cheers, Toby. So, incorporated businesses that have been through Companies House, and you've got shares attached to them, privately owned shares attached to them, those incorporated businesses would include places like Topshop, privately owned, family business, Wallace, Burton, Smith, Selfridge. Whereas public limited companies are known as public limited companies because they can actually sell shares to the public, while these are privately owned shares, private shareholding. And to some extent, these companies set up as private family businesses, and that shareholding will be locked in for the duration of that business. And they are limited to who can buy shares in an LTD, whereas obviously anybody can buy shares in those. Both pay tax, and both can be financed by share issues. So they would generally, the source of finance, issue more shares to get more revenue to do stuff, whereas generally speaking, they wouldn't with a limited company. And for your 9-mark response to these questions, if you get any, these unincorporated, these are incorporated, which means companies house. These unincorporated businesses are quite easy to set up. So the sole trader and the partnership are very much quick and easy to set up. You get out of bed in the morning and you can actually set up a business by lunchtime without a lot of paperwork and much to do. Obviously you need a bank account, but the LTDs are quite expensive to set up, but they're also expensive to run in terms of administration and account stuff, and they're quite slow to set up. It could take about 4 to 6 weeks to set up an LTD. Often people do not like to change to an incorporated business as it is expensive, but I would say to you, not only is it expensive, but you lose a certain amount of control. So if you went that way, you would lose control. But it's quite nice to have control, because unincorporated, they also keep all the profit and they make all the decisions. So it's quite nice to be an unincorporated business. And the other thing I'd say there is that I'd put it down to risk. So if it's high risk, the business that you're setting up, if it's high risk, set yourself up as a limited company, incorporated. If it's low risk, set yourself up as a partnership or LT, sole trader, because if it's a sole trader, it's quite easy to take money out of the business. So these two companies, unincorporated companies, partnership and sole trader, it's quite easy for a sole trader to take money out of the business, because in the eyes of the law there's no difference between the business and the entrepreneur, whereas here it's quite hard to take money out of the business. You normally take it out in the form of dividends, which is okay, and it's only 20% tax to pay on dividends, which is okay, but you can only take it out if the company's got the money there to give to you. Cheers, Toby. And all these people that set up sole traders, partnerships, LTDs or PLCs are generally somebody who recognises a business opportunity exists and are prepared to take risks in setting up that business to make the most of that opportunity. Not all business opportunities turn out to be successful, and like I said earlier on, the higher the risk, the higher the chance of losing the shirt on your back, your house, your car, and all your family wealth. I'd go for LTD to start with, as opposed to a sole trader or partnership. If the company grows and you think, wow, you know, you can do this PLC, it could cost you to turn into a PLC £250,000 to £2.5 million. So it's quite expensive to become a PLC, but you do get access to this selling shares to the public, which is quite nice. So whether you pick a sole trader, partnership, LTD, is mainly based around how risky the business is. Food businesses, restaurants, pizzas, takeaways, are super risky because you're dealing with food and people that handle food. So I would always say a high-risk business like a takeaway, pizza, restaurant, or anything to do with food is risky. So I'd set that up as an LTD. Cheers, Toby. And just finally, why do businesses fail? There's a long list on there. I would say mainly at the top of the list, poor cash flow, bad bookkeeping. If you don't know how much money you've got, you don't know how much cash you've got, that'll sink you before anything else. Obviously, if your marketing research is poor, and as a result of that you get the wrong marketing mix, i.e. you put your business products in the wrong place, you've got the wrong price attached to it, you've picked the wrong promotion, or you've picked the wrong product range to start off with, then that could sink your business. But apart from that, too much competition selling the same product, so pick something nobody else has got, or develop a product that nobody else has got and that lots of people want. Or the cost of running the business is too high, so there's no profit. So if you survive the year but there's lots of risk but no profit, why bother carrying on? You could put it down to product quality of goods and service being not fit for purpose, probably unlikely to be on my top list, and poor management. If the management and the supervisors aren't spending enough time working in the business, managing the business, that could separate. But the top answer there would be poor cash flow, poor bookkeeping, or getting the marketing mix wrong. Thank you, Toby. Why do businesses grow? Two knowledge questions here. Companies grow in three main ways, which you know about now. Organically, which is internal growth, very slow, very ploddy, but making more sales of the same product or introducing more products. That's organic growth. Quicker growth would be companies that have got lots of profit, lots of cash, might merge and take over with other businesses, and that's called external growth. Very quick, you take over and merge with other companies, and you control another business by buying over 51% of the shares. So the two main ways the business grows quite clearly there. Cheers, Toby. And integration. This is a bit more difficult integration because now you know the sectors of the business that we operate in. Integration is really looking at how companies will actually grow based on that takeover and merger. So if we've got primary, secondary, tertiary businesses, we get horizontal integration. So a company that makes crisps, let's say Walkers, buy Tyrrells, and maybe even another crisp company like Hula Hoops, whoever makes those, I can't remember. But that would be classed as horizontal integration, where you take over people in the same business. It could be backwards vertical, in the crisp example. So if you bought a potato farm, or lots of potato farms, so Tyrrell's Crisps could buy a potato farmer, so they've got the raw materials going into the secondary sector. Forward integration would be Tyrrell's Crisps buying Waitrose, so they can sell more crisps into Waitrose, or it could be Tyrrell's buying another supermarket that's growing quickly at the moment. It could be Budgeons. They could buy Budgeons to make sure they've got the product range in Budgeons, their own stores. So that is forward integration, backwards integration, or horizontal integration if it's done in the same sector. The only other thing you need to know about there is diversification, because Tyrrell's Crisps could decide to go into making vodka, which would be a diverse way to go, or they could go into making plastic for their foil wrapped crisp packets, which would be another diverse product range that they launch. Great. And finally, location, little factors affecting location there. If you haven't done much revision on this, you need to, because for a business, it doesn't matter if it's primary, secondary or tertiary, if it's going to locate, it needs to consider where the market is that it's serving, unless it's footloose and it doesn't need to worry about the market. Those IT companies that are broadband based. Does it need great transport links, air, rail, sea, train and road, so it needs to put itself near that. Does it need IT, broadband or infrastructure? Consider that before you locate. Can it benefit from government grants and loans, like Toby was talking about in the lesson? If the government wants you to put your factory in the northeast and give you a lump of cash to do it with, that might be a big incentive. Does it need to be near raw materials? Does it need to be somewhere which is low cost, because it's a startup? Does it need lots of skilled labour or unskilled labour? put yourself where they are, because unskilled people generally don't have cars, and need to get to work on bikes or buses. Does it need a particular climate or physical geography? So pick that carefully. And does it need to be located traditionally in a certain area, like shoemaking or pottery, because there's certain parts of the country that are famous for that. And does it need a specific type of product or service that needs to be shipped out through the sea or brought in through dockyards? So there's a few factors about locating a business you might want to remember those. Cheers, Toby. And then finally, the evaluation marks, the big marks. As the business activity changes from primary, secondary, tertiary, it might need to change location. Factors that might have to be, were important 20 years ago might not be relevant today. And remember that the local and national government is keen that businesses establish themselves anywhere in the country where there's high unemployment. So it might ultimately not be down to the entrepreneur where he locates the business. It might be a massive incentive from the government to give him a big fat grant that pays for it. I think we're done, aren't we, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Thank you very much.